If you're struggling as an athlete to get consistent performance results, then chances are it comes back to one thing, and that's confidence. Think, you probably practice really well, but then come game day, you're questioning yourself again. Or you're anxious, or you're unsure, or you're overthinking things. If you're feeling this, I totally understand because I used to go through the same thing as an athlete, but I'll tell you, there are ways to get through. In today's video, I'm gonna give you the second part to our two-part series on the 5 insanely easy ways to build your confidence as an athlete and to boost it quickly. These are methods that we use with all of our pro athletes that have worked for us consistently, and they're ones that I even tested on myself when I used to play. So in this video, we'll be covering 5 tools that have to do with building authentic or temporary confidence, why to use them, when to use them, and how to use them, and then how you can apply them as well in your own daily practice. Hey difference makers, welcome back to the channel and welcome to video 3 of our How to Build Confidence series for athletes. And if you're new here, my name's Matt Calderoni. I'm an ex-pro athlete turned resilience coach and co-founder of Molliteum, a company that helps athletes discover and reach their true potential by building their resilience. And on this channel, we dive into the mental techniques and strategies that we use with all of our pro athletes that allow them to reach their peak potential. And we've used this with athletes like Larry Markkinen, DJ Reed, Kyle Kuzma, Dylan Cousins, and many, many more. Now with that, let's dive into a quick reminder about confidence. For those of you that didn't get to watch part 1 of this video or that forgot, confidence equals clarity of what skill to work on times repetition times reflection. And that means that the 5 things I'm going to give you in this video have only to do with gaining more clarity on the skill you need to work on, repetitions, or reflection. Secondly, there's 2 types of confidence that these tools build. There's an authentic confidence, which is where you master a skill and that sticks with you so it becomes authentic. Or there's a temporary confidence, which is where you're gonna use that to boost courage or motivation or focus or overcome challenges, and it only sticks with you for a little bit. Both are extremely useful and serve their purpose, which is what we're gonna cover right now when we dive into these 5 tools. So with that being said, let's dive into part 2 right now. Number 1, reviewing or watching yourself in past successful performances. Now in the first part of this video, we actually spoke about reviewing your film and studying film to make adjustments. Watching past successful performances, though, are a little bit different. You're actually not here to nitpick any skills or to find ways to enhance yourself. What you're doing with this is simply watching games that you did well in, understanding what it was that you were doing, and this will allow you to build confidence because you're seeing that you got results in the past. Now, the type of confidence that this starts with building is temporary confidence because all it's doing is just reminding you about what you did in the past. Now, if you continue to do this, it actually will build authentic confidence with that repetition. In fact, there's actually studies to prove this. In a study published in the Psychology of Sport and Exercise, it examined how reviewing past successful performances affects an athlete's confidence. Athletes watch these videos of their best performances to mentally reinforce positive outcomes. And this practice actually helped them build their confidence by reminding them of their capabilities and how they found success under pressure. Now, this is something that we actually use with all of our athletes before they go into a game, because that simple reminder and that temporary boost, if you will, of courage or motivation, these videos serve that purpose. So what we recommend is if you're going to use this in times where you need to boost that confidence temporarily, like going into a game, and if you do it for enough games, it will turn into an authentic confidence. Number 2, studying your role models. This is simply picking an athlete who's already successfully playing at the level that you want to get to. So like the end result level, if you will, right? Professional athletes. And it's studying how they do things. It's studying how they implement a certain skill. And by studying these techniques and understanding how they implement these skills, you'll be able to learn things from them at the highest standard possible and start to apply them to your game. Now, the key here is not to become that person or to copy them. The key here is to understand the excellence that they're performing that skill to. And if you can match that level of excellence and close that gap, you know that you're getting better. Now, this will actually help you build an authentic confidence because what you're doing here is learning a new skill. You're learning how to raise that bar. The one trap you need to avoid, though, is that you can't be expecting to hit that level automatically. It's gonna take some time, which is why this is about mastering a skill and not just building some kind of temporary confidence. Now, the science behind this is that one of the most natural ways for us to learn as human beings is actually by watching people or things. Once you observe, you then try to apply. Think about how you learned to speak when you were a kid. Your parents probably came up to you and started shouting words in your face, and then eventually you recognized the pattern and repeated it back to them. That's exactly what watching your role models does, without the whole part of someone shouting in your face, and instead watching somebody to build your confidence. So our recommendation and what we do with all of our pro athletes is that we actually have them pick 3 different role models for 3 different skills, and then we have them study them at least twice a week. Number 3 is tracking and celebrating small wins. Now, I covered self-reflection in part 1 of this video, and this is kind of like an add-on to it. Tracking your small wins actually uses the process of reflection. However, what you're doing now is reflecting on your reflecting. Sounds funny, but what you're gonna do is if you've been keeping a journal, you're actually gonna go back a couple pages or look over the course of your week and ask ask yourself, what are the small wins I've been having? And you're gonna analyze each day. Now, I like to do this by at the end of the week, I wanna look through everything and take a little note on all the small wins, and I call it my weekly recap. We do this with our athletes sometimes as well, and you can do the same. Now, this will help you build an authentic confidence because it follows the process of self-reflection. And by reflecting on the progress that you're getting, it allows you to build that confidence because you can see, oh my gosh, I have these amazing skills and it's allowing me to get these results. And without diving into it too heavily, there is tons of science and some that we cited in the first video on self-reflection and how this progress tracking helps. Our recommendation is to track these small wins daily, but if you're like me and you don't have as much time, you can also do this on a weekly basis if you're already reflecting on your progress on a daily basis. Simply use my weekly recap method and it should help you build that confidence. Number 4 is upgrading your social circle with positive, confident, and optimistic people. Now, this is probably one of the easiest but most neglected ways to build your confidence, and that's really auditing your social circles. It's making sure that you're surrounded by the right people who help you build confidence or give you that support so that you can trust and believe in yourself. And I know it sounds really small, but I can't tell you how many different athletes that we've spoke to from the youth to even pro level that have negative social circles and they don't know why they're not feeling confident. Listen, if you're with a social circle of people that break you down consistently, I'm gonna tell you right now that's the worst for you. In fact, I used to go through this when I was an athlete myself. When I was in high school, I didn't have the most positive, supportive friends, and I would often come home feeling crappy every day. The truth is, once I kind of divorced that group of friends in university, I thrived. When I was able to get my full ride scholarship and I started hanging out with those full ride scholarship people who were all there for the same reason as me, which was to absolutely excel in performance, things drastically change. And I'm telling you right now, if you're someone with a negative social circle, you're gonna wanna do everything you possibly can to get away from that. Now, the one caveat to this is that sometimes it can be family. Obviously, with your family, it's a little bit different. However, what I do recommend is actually limiting your time with those negative people. Now, doing this will actually start by building a temporary confidence, but eventually building an authentic one. The temporary confidence comes from hanging around more confident people. The authentic confidence comes when you start applying those skills, beliefs, or behaviors that those confident people give you. In fact, a real example of this is one of our NHL players who started training with a group of different NHLers this offseason. When I asked him what he noticed was very different, he said, these guys are all here to genuinely get better. They don't care how many pucks are on the ice or how many guys are out there. And because of this, our NHLer went in with a temporary amount of confidence from just training with them, but came out with an authentic one because he started ripping those same principles. Now, whenever he trains, he's genuinely focused on getting better instead of just training to train. Notice where the confidence shift happens there, where he learned from the group and started applying. Our recommendation is to actually do an audit of your social circle. If you've never done this before, I actually do it once a month. Our athletes do it frequently as well. I actually like to go through a little monthly process where I write down the 5 people I'm hanging out with the most at that period in my life and ask myself for each of them, are they promoting my confidence? If it's a no, I make it a point to make an adjustment and move forwards from them. If it's a yes, I maintain those relationships. Now, I'm not saying to cut anybody off. What I am saying though is understand where your time's going into and if the output is being more confident or not. Number 5, getting back to what you can control. So many times I see athletes struggle with confidence simply because they're focused on things they can't control. And the number one thing you can't control, but that most athletes focus on, and maybe this is you, it's actually results. See, results are absolutely out of your control. The only thing that is within your control is what you do to influence those results. And what you do to influence those results comes from mastering your skills and the way that you prepare so that you can show up as your best on game day. Now again, this skill actually starts off by falling into the temporary category of building confidence, but as you keep implementing this and focusing on the things you can control, it becomes an authentic confidence. If there's one thing that I will say that drastically changes the lives of a lot of our athletes, it's that we get them focusing on what they can control. And in our case, we only have our clients focusing on the person they want to become. Nothing else matters at that point. And if they can take steps towards that daily, everything else will take care of itself, and it often does. Remember, success has to be attracted, not chased. Now, a great example of this is actually an NBA player we're working with who was in the Olympics this past year. This individual was a little bit too focused on the future and the things he couldn't control instead of focusing on himself. The moment we made this switch and he started internally focusing on things, everything changed. He had a great Olympics, he crushed it, and he's still now doing well in his offseason for the NBA. Our simple suggestion is to start every single day by asking yourself, what can I control and am I focused on these things? If you're not, simply shift your focus. And there you have it. There's part 2 of the 5 insanely easy ways to boost your confidence fast as an athlete. Here's a quick recap on what those 5 things are. Number 1, reviewing or watching yourself in past successful performances so that you can build a temporary confidence that turns into an authentic one. Do this before games. Number 2 is studying your role models. Simply pick an athlete who's already successful playing at the level you want and study the excellence that they're performing their skills to. Number 3 is tracking and celebrating small wins. Simply reflect on the wins that you're making on a daily or weekly basis, and this will help build your confidence. Number 4, upgrading your social circle with positive, confident, and optimistic people. This will start as a temporary confidence that eventually becomes an authentic one once you start using the same behaviors as they do. And number 5, only focus on what you can control. Anything that's outside of it is absolutely unnecessary to focus on. Now, if you got value from this video, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, comment down below if you got some value out of this. If you haven't already checked out the first video in our How to Build Confidence series for athletes, you can check it out by clicking here. If you want to check out part 1 of this 2-part video series here that we just covered now, you can check it out here. We'll cover a separate list of 5 things that you can do to boost your confidence as an athlete. And with that being said, if you want to work with us in a one-on-one setting, you can apply for our coaching down below. The link is in the description. All you need to do is click the link, fill out the form. We take on 2 athletes per week or 8 total per month. It is a first come, first served basis due to the demand of the program. So simply fill out the form and we'll see if you're a good fit. With that being said, make sure to tune in next week where we'll be covering the 4th video in our How to Build Confidence series for athletes. So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast episode, click right here.